You have failed this city. Episode 20, Home Invasion. Oh my god, my ring light's not on. Episode 20. We're in the Arrow Cave, and it's Felicity, John, and Oliver, and Felicity comes in and she says that she just hacked into Argus because they're looking for Deadshot, and they set up a trap for Deadshot, and apparently Deadshot took the bait. So Argus is going to be able to catch Deadshot soon. And Oliver also reveals to Felicity and John that he's going on a little lunch date with Laurel, and both of them are like, should you really be doing that? Back on the island, Oliver and Slade and Shadow are talking about how they're gonna take down fires and save Yao Fei. And Slade is like, Oliver is useless. Like, he can't shoot, he can't do anything, like, and Shadow's like, no, I'm gonna train Oliver on how to use a bow and arrow. And if he can't shoot it by the end of the day, then we're gonna come up with a different plan. Oliver has 24 hours to learn archery. John goes to have a chat with Lila, and Lila is like, hey, John Diggle, I know about Andy, okay? I know why you're so invested in taking down Deadshot, and I need you to stay away from this, okay? This is dangerous, and me and Argus, we've got this, so back off, Diggle. And it's clear in this scene that there's some kind of relationship between Diggle and Lila. We're not really sure what it is, but there's some tension there. Oliver goes to CNRI to pick up Laurel for their little lunch date, but she has to call a rain check because her new clients are here, and this case is absolutely bonkers. Okay, so her clients, Ken and Barbie, and their son, let's pretend that's a boy on the board, okay? Their son's name is Taylor, and they're all at CNRI, and Laurel is talking to them, and she reveals that they are suing a man called Edward Rasmus. This family is trying to sue Edward Rasmus for some reason, and Laurel warns them that it might be dangerous. And Mr. Rasmus is not happy that these people are going after him in court, so he hires a hitman, Preminger, and Preminger shows up at Eric and Nancy's door, and he shoots both of them, and then he goes after the kid, Taylor, but Taylor manages to jump out the window and run away from the hitman. Let's just talk about the hitman for a second. The hitman is serving, okay? He's sassy. He's absolutely the best character. Like, he's the best little villain character that we ever get in this show. He's so sassy. He's fun. The next morning, Oliver sees a news report about the killings. Title screen. We're at CNRI. It's the next day. Little Taylor has no parents now. He's an orphan, and that's really sad. So Laurel assigns herself temporary custody of Taylor. Tommy is also here, and Oliver is also here. Tommy's mad because he didn't know that Laurel and Oliver were gonna go hang out, and he's kind of jealous because of course he is. Back on the island, Oliver and Shadow are learning archery. Well, Shadow's teaching Oliver archery. Oliver sucks. Okay, this 24-hour archer challenge is proving difficult for Oliver Queen, and Shadow has her whole hand on Oliver's chest, and they have this weird little flirty moment, and Slade sees that. Back at the Arrow Cave, Diggle is like, okay, I talked to Lila from Argus. She says they're going to arrest Deadshot, but I don't want Deadshot arrested. Like, you know what I want. Oliver then suits up to go stake out Laurel's house, okay, because this Deadshot thing isn't happening until the next day, so he has the rest of the day to, like, stake out Laurel's house and make sure the hitman doesn't come for them. Roy goes to the police department and he steals Lance's police radio. Roy! We're at Laurel's house. Tommy, Laurel, and Taylor are there, and Taylor is sad, and Tommy comforts him. He's like, Taylor, I have some experience with dead parents. And so Tommy gives this really heartwarming speech, and he's like, every time you close your eyes, you'll be able to see your parents again. And that wouldn't work for me because I have aphantasia, so every time I close my eyes, I see a black void, but it works for Taylor. He closes his eyes and pictures his parents, and they're still with him, and so he cheers up a little bit. But then there's a knock on the door, and Laurel goes to get it, and like I said before, you'd think Laurel would just stop answering her door, because it's obviously the hitman that's outside, and then the hitman barges through the door, gun ablazing, shoot, shoot, pow, pow, pow. And then Tommy and Taylor are under the couch, and the hitman is like walking through the house all sassy like, and he's like, I will find you. Laurel Lance pops out of her bedroom with a shotgun. A little bit obsessed with women with shotguns. Anyway, Laurel pops out with a shotgun. She goes and tries to take a shot at the hitman, but her gun, it either doesn't have a bullet or it jams or something. Just then, the Hood busts in the room, breaks the window, because he can't just go through the door. That would be a little bit too hard for the Hood anyway. So the Hood busts in the window, shatters glass everywhere, shoots the gun out of the hitman's hand at the very last second before he can fire at Laurel. The hitman does get away. Back at the police department, Detective Lance wants to put Laurel, Taylor, and Tommy under protective custody, but Tommy's like, I have a better idea, okay? What if we all had a sleepover at the Queen Mansion? At the Queen Mansion, Moira lets everyone in. She has a cute little moment with Taylor, and then Oliver's talking with Tommy and Laurel, and he's like, nothing bad's gonna happen to you. We have top-of-the-line security here. If anyone tries to come in and snipe you, we will snipe them first, okay? So Diggle comes up, and he interrupts a conversation between Oliver and Tommy, and he says, Hey, Oliver, we gotta go to the Lawton meeting. And then Oliver says, I need to swing by the club and pick up my good suit. And Tommy is like, wait a minute, we came here so that you could protect us, and now you have to leave? How are you supposed to protect us if you're trying to kill some guy named Lawton? And Oliver's like, Tommy, relax. At the only burger joint that exists in this universe, Roy and Thea are having a meal together. So Roy's got the police radio in his pocket, and it starts going off. The police are talking that there's a vigilante sighting at the pier. Thea is like, is there a police radio in your pocket? And Roy says, no, I'm just happy to see you. She walked right into that one, I'm afraid. Anyway, there's no vigilante at the pier. It was all a setup because Lance wanted his radio back. And he doesn't arrest Roy, but he does take him back to SCPD because he wants to show him something. Oliver goes back to the Arrow Cave to pick up his good suit for the Lawton meeting, and Felicity's there, and she's like, hey, I just got word that Edward Rasmus is trying to skip town, so if you want to take this guy down, you have to do it tonight, okay? So you either have to go take down Edward Rasmus or help Diggle. Diggle is in position at the Lawton meeting, but Oliver is nowhere to be found because he went after Edward Rasmus, and he kills Edward's security guards, and then he does his hood thing with Edward. At the Lawton meeting, Lila thinks she spots Floyd Lawton coming in, okay? But it's not Floyd Lawton. It's just some Ian Hecox looking dude in a hat. So everyone got all tense for a second, but it was a fake out. And then all of a sudden, bullets start flying, and 3 Argus security men, they get shot dead. And then Lila's the next target, but Diggle runs in and pushes her out of the way. And then Diggle and Deadshot end up getting in another fist fight, okay? They get in a little hand-to-hand. Deadshot Floyd Lawton wins this little battle, and he's got 2 guns pointed at John Diggle, and he says, on your knees. Did I take advantage of the replay button a couple too many times and rewatch that scene over and over again? Who's to say? Floyd Lawton has 2 guns on John Diggle, and he is like about to shoot him, but he's like, I'm not gonna kill you because no one's paying me. Back in the Arrow Cave, John goes up to Oliver and he's like, why weren't you there? I had Deadshot. Like, if you were there, we could have got him. We could have put him down. But Oliver's like, listen, Rasmus was more important. John is upset with Oliver, and Felicity is also upset with Oliver, even though she was the one who gave him the choice to go after Rasmus. Like, Felicity, why didn't you just not bring it up? Instead of doing target practice, back on the island, Oliver and Shadow start making out. Oliver pops back up at the Queen Mansion, and he's like, hey, Laurel, hey, Tommy, Edward Rasmus is in jail, okay? Tommy's like, okay, great, because he wants to get the hell away from Oliver as fast as he possibly can. But then Moira's like, Tommy, what's the rush? Like, Taylor's upstairs and he's sleeping. Like, do you really want to wake him up? And then Oliver's like, yeah, it's totally chill if you stay. And then Tommy's like, I think we should go, Laurel. But Laurel's like, I think we should stay, you know? And so they stay at the Queen Mansion. Lightning cracks dramatically as we enter another scene at SCPD. Edward Rasmus is inside of the interrogation room. Lance leaves after interrogating him, and then the hitman shows up under the guise of being his lawyer, and he murders Rasmus. We're still at the police station. Roy is there, Thea is there, and Lance shows the 2 of them what happens when people get too close to the hood. He goes to the room where they keep all the dead bodies, and then shows them a dead body, and Thea almost freaking throws up, and Roy's just like, but it does not change Roy's mind. Like, he still wants to find this vigilante. So back at the Queen Mansion, Oliver and Laurel have a cute little touching moment, and they both hug each other in the hallway, and of course, Tommy's lurking in the distance, and he sees this, and he gets really mad and jealous, and then the lights go out, and the hitman is at the Queen Mansion. Oh no. Oliver tells Tommy, Laurel, and the kid to go hide in one of his rooms. He knocks the door handle off the door, and then he goes to confront the hitman. Oliver and the hitman have a really awesome and epic fight on the staircase. Like, the fight scene was actually cool. And then the hitman's about to win, but then Oliver grabs the poker from by the fire, you know, the thing that you poke the fire with, and he stabs the hitman with it and kills him. When the police show up to investigate, Oliver tells Detective Lance that one of the dead security guards was the one who killed the hitman. Oliver and Tommy have a little chat one-on-one, and Tommy's like, "Are you ever gonna tell Laurel your secret?" And Oliver's like, "No." Tommy looks Oliver dead in the eyes and he says this, "I don't know how to be with Laurel, knowing the entire time that if she ever found out who you really were, she would choose you." Tommy and Laurel have the craziest breakup scene you could possibly imagine, okay? It's so dramatic. Tommy says, "I thought I wanted this. You. But the other night made me realize I don't." "You're lying." "I am not a liar. If you've changed, and I know that you've changed, then you wouldn't do this." "I guess I haven't changed as much as we all thought then." Then we cut to Thea and Roy, who are having the exact opposite version of the conversation that Laurel and Tommy just had, where Roy reveals to her that he wants to find the vigilante because after the vigilante saved his life, he feels like he's spiritually connected to this guy and he wants to find him and be just like him. He wants to be the Dick Grayson to the vigilante's Batman. Thea is like, "Roy, if it's important to you, then I'm gonna help you find this vigilante." Diggle goes up to Oliver and he said, "Oliver, after that shit you pulled with Floyd Lawton, I quit." And he quits Team Arrow. Back on the island, the gang is chilling out in the abandoned airplane when Yao Fei shows up, and he led fires in his army right to where they were. So that sucks. We got some Felicity lore this episode. She says that she doesn't think she'll fit in Guantanamo Bay. And also, she's not a natural blonde, which I find hard to believe. In episode 20, Oliver gave 6 dramatic speeches, 8 smart remarks, and 22 dramatic pauses. He also killed 1 person. Episode 21, The Undertaking. It's finally time, bitch. What is this undertaking? Let's go. Open with the hood, and he's going to confront this accountant called Harold Backman. Oliver steals Harold's laptop and goes back to the Arrow Cave. At the Arrow Cave, Oliver wants Felicity to hack into Backman's computer and send the money that he stole back to his victims. And Felicity says, "Yeah, I'll get right on that, but it's gonna take a few days to break this encryption." And then she's like, "Hey, when are you gonna go apologize to John? Like, go apologize to John Diggle so he can come back and join us, because it's lonely down here without John." And Oliver's like, "I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not gonna apologize to John." Flashback. This time it's not the island. This time it's a flashback to the Queens. Moira opens the door for Malcolm. They have the cutest little banter ever. Like, I ship it, okay? I ship Malcolm and Moira. They are adorable together. The sexy psychopath and Queen of Lies. They're literally couple goals. Moira lets Malcolm in the house. Malcolm goes to lead a meeting in the other room. So Moira is not in on this meeting. She goes to answer the door. Walter is at the door, and Moira tells Walter that he can't talk to Robert until after the very private top secret meeting that they're having in the other room. So Walter just kind of hangs around the house and waits for the meeting to be over. In the meeting, we learn that Malcolm Merlin, Frank number 3, and Robert Queen, along with 2 other people, are in on this thing called the Undertaking. The list of names was compiled by all of these people together at the Undertaking meetings, and these are the people who are corrupt. They are the worst people in Starling City, and they are kind of doing what the Hood is doing. They're using their power and influence to blackmail all the people on the list so that they will be forced to do some good for the city. Malcolm says to the group that it's like they're emptying the Atlantic with a tablespoon. For years, we've been forcing the city's worst to do what is best, but it's not working. Crime in the Glades is rising. The cancer is spreading. Robert is like, "Buddy, Malcolm, relax. We just need some more time." And then Malcolm says, "Did Rebecca have more time?" If I had been drinking water in that moment, I would have choked. Okay, because that was absolutely an unexpected outburst. Malcolm says the village must be destroyed before it can be saved. Robert says what we're all thinking. He says, "You've always had something of a god complex, Malcolm, but even you can't cause a natural disaster." And Malcolm is like, Try me. We're at the nightclub. Laurel is there. She's moping around. Oliver comes over and she says that she's upset because Tommy broke up with her. She's not dealing with it very well. And Oliver's like, hey, Laurel, you could just go to Tommy and then try and talk it out. Then Felicity shows up and she drags Oliver back down into the arrow cave to show him something. Felicity finds out that Harold Backman paid somebody $2 million the night that Walter disappeared. And now they have to figure out who it was so they can track him down. Title screen! Oliver and Felicity figure out the name of the man who got the $2 million. His name is Dominic Alonzo and he runs a casino, an underground casino. The plan is Felicity knows how to count cards because of course Felicity knows how to count cards. So she's gonna go to this underground casino. She's gonna get dressed up all nice, go to the casino. She's gonna get caught counting cards. And then when they catch her, they're gonna take her back to the manager, Dominic Alonzo. She's going to plant a bug on his computer and they are going to use that bug to track down Walter. We are at another flashback at the Queen Mansion. This time, Robert signs Walter's papers or whatever the hell Walter wanted, and then he goes back into the living room and everyone is gone except for Malcolm Merlyn, who is standing by the window just dramatically looking outside. And Robert's like, yo, Malcolm, why are you still in my house? And Malcolm's like, let me tell you a story. Malcolm Merlyn proceeds to give the most heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, saddening, dramatic speech that I've ever heard. And he explains that the night Rebecca died, she called him. She called him on the phone, but he was busy. He was at a meeting, and he told Rebecca not to call her that day, so he ignored her. Then Rebecca called him a second time, and Malcolm got angry because he's busy. Why the fuck is she trying to bother him? So he turned his entire phone off. Okay, and then about an hour later, some cops showed up and told him that Rebecca bled out on the sidewalk and died. He listened to all of Rebecca's voicemails from that night, and he heard her through the phone. He heard his wife die. While people just walked by, nobody tried to help her. She just bled out on the sidewalk, and he ignored her in her moment of need. He then says, hey, Robert, imagine it was Moira that was dying and bleeding out on the pavement. What would you do? Robert's like, Malcolm, I wouldn't try to level the glades, because that's what he wants to do. Malcolm wants to level the glades. Everybody wants to do it except for Robert. Felicity goes to Diggle's apartment. She climbs up 6 flights of stairs and she's like, Diggle, please come back. We need you. I miss you in the arrow cave. Like, it's so lonely down there without you. You're so funny and charming and I need you to come back. And Diggle's like, hey, I would love to come back, but only if Oliver shows up here and he asks me to come back himself. And so Felicity's like, Laurel goes to the nasty-ass glass Merlin Global building to talk to Tommy Merlyn. And she's like, Tommy, please, like, I love you, like, we need to get back together. And Tommy says, I cannot be in a relationship with you because Oliver Queen still has feelings for you, and you definitely still have feelings for him too. And Felicity and Oliver roll up to the casino. Remember the plan from earlier? Felicity goes in. She looks hot in that little red dress, by the way. So Felicity's wearing a little Bluetooth earpiece to communicate with Oliver, and she's kind of notorious for saying weird shit by accident, like she stumbles over words and says some weird shit. So here's the conversation that Felicity and Oliver have over the comms. Stay focused, please. I'll be with you the entire time. It feels so good having you inside me. And by you, I mean your voice. And by me, I mean my ear. I'll stop talking now. That would be my preference. And why was that actually funny? Like, it was so stupid, but it made me laugh. At the nasty-ass glass Merlin Global building, Malcolm and Moira are talking, and Malcolm reveals to her that the earthquake machine is ready, bitch. The undertaking is about to be undertook. And they have a crazy exchange where Malcolm says, Moira, you may be surprised to know that I sometimes waver in my convictions, but your friendship, your endless support, always gives me the strength to carry on. After all, you and I will always have a connection. What the fuck are you talking about? Moira says, I'm just sorry that Robert couldn't be here to celebrate with us. Then Malcolm says, I'm sorry I had to take him from you. If anyone's to blame for his death, it's me. To Robert. To Rebecca. Flashback to Robert and Moira, and Robert comes up to Moira and he's like, yo, Malcolm wants to, like, nuke the glades. And Moira's like, what the fuck, bro? You need to stop this. You need to get out of this. And then Moira's like, Robert, why are you involved with this undertaking anyway? Robert reveals to Moira that he killed a man, and participating in this undertaking, that's how he's going to, like, you know, atone for his sins. At At the casino, Felicity gets caught counting cards and she gets taken back to meet with the manager. He says that she's banned from the club, but before he lets her go, he's like, the thing about card counters is they always have a partner. And so he pulls the Bluetooth headphone from her ears and he's like, it's time to find out who your partner is. And then the Hood storms in the casino and kills a bunch of people and seriously injures a bunch more. And then he comes back and he's like, Alonzo, where's Walter Steele? And then Alonzo's like, listen, he's dead, buddy. Oliver goes up to the Queen Mansion and he tells Moira and Thea that Walter is dead. Moira is angry as fuck. She's like, no, that's not what happened to Walter. So she leaves and Oliver follows her. Flashback again. This time it's Robert Queen and Frank Chen, and they're having a discussion where Robert reveals that he found out that Malcolm wants to level the Glades and then rebuild them afterwards so that he can make a lot of money off of this. And Robert's like, Frank, if you and I can buy out the majority of the Glades before Malcolm does, then he's going to stop the Undertaking because he won't be able to rebuild and it won't be profitable for him. Frank says that he's going to meet with Robert in China in a couple of weeks. Frank is going to go by plane and then Robert's going to go by boat. In the same flashback, Oliver and Laurel are then talking, and she wants to move in with him. Like, she wants them to get their own place and move in. Oliver doesn't want to do this, but he agrees anyway. Back in the present, Moira Queen, pissed the fuck off, storms into Malcolm's office at the nasty-ass glass Merlin Global building, and she says, we had a deal! Malcolm's like, Moira, calm your tits, okay? Walter's still alive, and he shows Moira a video proof, a live feed, that Walter Steele is still alive. And then, the whole time this was going down, Oliver Queen was listening in using a listening device. Oliver suits up as the Hood and goes to rescue him. He kills 5 guards on the way to save Walter, and then he successfully brings Walter back. We're in the hospital, and the entire family is now reunited with Walter. Flashback, before the Queen's Gambit leaves for that dreaded voyage. Moira's like, Robert, are you sure you want to get on this boat? And he's like, I love this boat. Me and this boat, we're best friends. So I'm getting on this boat. Do you know who else is getting on the boat? Oliver Queen. He wasn't supposed to go. He just strolled up. He was like, yo, Dad, you're leaving? Sick. I'm coming too. And Moira's like, Oliver, you have to stay here. Like, don't you have school? And Oliver's like, I don't go to school. And then he gets on the boat. He gets a text from Sarah, and Sarah says that she's almost there, but then Laurel shows up, so Oliver texts Sarah like, hey, circle around the block, okay, your sister's here. Laurel goes up to Oliver, and she says, Oliver, please don't go. And then Laurel gives Oliver the picture of her that he had on the island, and she says, to remember me by while you're out at sea. And then he kisses the photo, and then he gets on board with Sarah and Robert. And then we get a flash sideways to Malcolm Merlin, who's having a phone conversation with Frank number 3, where Frank reveals that he was the one that put the bomb on the Queen's Gambit. Now, this scene is confusing because Moira knows about the Queen's Gambit, but I don't think that Moira knew about the Queen's Gambit before they left. Like, I think she found out after, and then Malcolm used it as blackmail, because there's no way Moira would have let Oliver get on the boat. Like, maybe she would have let Robert get on the boat, let's be real, but when Oliver showed up, if Moira had known that there was a bomb on that boat, there's no way she would have let him get on it. Like, I refuse to believe that. We're at the hospital now. Malcolm Merlin shows up, and he talks to Oliver, who's out in the hallway, and he's like, did Walter recognize any of his captors? Like, did he say anything about these guys? And Oliver's like, he didn't see anything, but they'll get what's coming to them. Then Laurel shows up at the hospital, and she goes up to Oliver, and she's like, Oliver, I need you to go tell Tommy that you're not in love with me so that we can get back together. And Oliver's like, Laurel, I can't say that. And she's like, why not? And he says, because it would be a lie. And then he leaves her there, and she starts, like, crying. Like, what the hell is happening? Laurel is getting whiplashed. Oliver then goes to talk to John Diggle. He finally admits that he fucked up with the Floyd Lawton thing, and that he needs John's help, and John agrees to come back. In episode 21, Oliver made 10 dramatic speeches, 7 smart remarks, 53 dramatic pauses, and he killed 8 people. I also would like to note that Malcolm Merlin made 46 dramatic pauses in this episode. Episode 22, darkness on the edge of town. We open on the other Archer going and massacring an entire lab full of lab nerds. He kills everyone in the building, and he also burns all the evidence of whatever they were working on. He drives away in his car, and just in case you forgot who the other Archer was, he pulls off his hood dramatically, and it's still Malcolm Merlyn, okay? Glad they reminded us, because I kind of forgot. Title screen. Back in the Arrow Cave, Felicity, John, and Oliver discuss Moira and Malcolm and this undertaking and whatever the fuck it is. They still don't know. So Oliver decides that he's gonna go talk to Moira again, but this time not as the Hood, just as Oliver. Oliver is about to leave and he goes upstairs and Laurel is sitting in his club and she's like, Oliver, what the hell was that? You just told me you loved me and then you left me standing there in the hospital just crying. He's like, Laurel, listen, I can't be with you. I love you, but I can't be with you. So back at the mansion, Oliver can sense that there's some, weird tension between Walter and Moira. Walter knows that Moira is somehow involved with his abduction, so he's not really, feeling great about her right now. And Oliver talks to Moira, and he's like, Mom, you have to be honest with me. I know about the undertaking, and I need you to tell me what it is. And then Moira's like, Oliver, I told you this is dangerous shit and I cannot tell you about it. And then the lights dim, Oliver and Moira get hit by tranq darts. Back on the island, Oliver, Slade, and Shadow are taken by Fire's men. Alfei reveals that the reason that he turned them in is because Fires was going to bomb the entire forest to kill them all, and he would rather that Shadow didn't die, so he turned them into Fires. Turns out that dude Alan from the cave earlier, he's here and he's working for Fires. And Fires comments that he is going to be using the missile launcher to shoot down a commercial airplane. At the crime scene, Lance and Frank number 1, Lieutenant Frank, are talking about the crime scene, what just happened with the other Archer. All the evidence was destroyed. They don't know what these people were researching. Everyone who was involved is dead and there's no evidence left on the computers. Across the street, we see Roy and Thea spying on them. Roy's like, hey Thea, do you still work at CNRI? Maybe you could find something there that could be useful for us to track down the vigilante. Moira and Oliver have been kidnapped by the Hood, who says, Moira Queen, you have failed this city. Back on the island, Oliver does not understand why Fires wants to shoot down a commercial airplane. And Fires reveals his entire evil plan because, I'm gonna shoot down every single plane that's going in and out of China to destabilize China's economy, because that's what his employer wants him to do. And then he's gonna have Yao Fei take the blame for the entire operation. Fires then shoots Slade in the leg and punches Oliver in the face. Thea goes to SCPD and she says that she's here for some CNRI thing, and then she overhears Lance and Frank, and they're talking very loudly about the copycat Archer and how that this copycat Archer is involved with Merlin Global somehow. Thea goes back to Roy and she tells him that the copycat is connected to Merlin Global, and so Roy has the bright idea that they should just go to the nasty ass glass Merlin Global building and wait for the Hood to show up, because the Hood's definitely going to show up. The Hood that kidnapped Oliver and Moira is actually Diggle, and he demands that Moira tells them about the undertaking, and he punches Oliver in the face, and then Moira eventually tells him everything that she knows about the undertaking. She says that Malcolm is planning on leveling the glades with an earthquake machine, but she doesn't know where the earthquake machine is. So at the Arrow Cave, Oliver, John, and Felicity do some Google searching, and they do find out that the other Archer is connected somehow to Merlin Global. They don't know that the other Archer is Malcolm Merlyn. Their plan is, instead of confronting Malcolm Merlyn directly, because they think the other Archer is working for Malcolm, so if they go to talk to Malcolm Merlyn, the other Archer could come in and bust up their little organization. They're gonna hack into the Merlin Global mainframe. So Felicity hacks into the Merlin Global mainframe to try and find out where the earthquake device is. And Oliver's like, Felicity, are you hacking into the Merlin Global mainframe? And then she's like, yeah, I'm hacking into the Merlin Global mainframe. The amount of times they said Merlin Global mainframe in this episode is off the charts. I should have counted, but I didn't. This episode should just be called the Merlin Global mainframe, the amount of times they said it. Back on the island, Yao Fei secretly passes Oliver a knife so that he can start to cut his little ropes off because everyone's tied up. Fires calls his employer, and we find out that his employer is actually a woman? We don't know who she is. Malcolm makes a house call to the Queen Mansion to check in on Walter and make sure that he doesn't, know it was him who kidnapped him. And Moira is like, Malcolm, stay the fuck away from Walter, okay? For real. And Malcolm's like, listen, I just need to tie up some loose ends. Malcolm just fucking smirks at her. Why am I obsessed with Malcolm Merlyn? Back at the Arrow Cave, turns out Felicity, she can't hack into the Merlin Global mainframe remotely, so they need to actually go to the nasty-ass glass Merlin Global building so that Felicity can hack into the Merlin Global mainframe directly. It's time for a hacking heist! I love a heist. The heist is on. Oliver Queen shows up at the nasty-ass glass Merlin Global building, and he says, I'm here for an appointment with Tommy Merlin. Who else shows up at the Merlin Global building? It's Felicity Smoke. She is dressed as a delivery girl from the only burger joint in Starling City, the Big Belly Burger. Felicity heads up to deliver a burger to a security guard. Oliver heads up with her. The Merlin Global mainframe is on the 25th floor of the building. The elevator that everyone can get on only goes up to the 24th floor. Everything from the 25th floor and up is blocked by a private access elevator. And obviously Oliver and Felicity and John can't just hop on that elevator and head up because security would catch them. So they need to get to the 24th floor and then do some parkour to get to the 25th floor. So this is nuts. So Felicity delivers the burger to John Diggle, who's dressed as a security guard, and Diggle gives the burger to the other security guard who's there. The other security guard eats the burger and then falls asleep because they drugged the burger with some kind of sleeping pill. Felicity and Oliver are in the elevator. They make it to the 24th floor. Diggle is able to stop the elevator so that it doesn't, go back down. And Diggle's on cams. He's 5 nights at Freddying this bitch, okay? He's watching for Chica in the kitchen. He's making sure that Foxy stays in Pirate Cove. So Felicity and Oliver climb on top of the elevator, and then Oliver zip lines both of them across to the other side, and then they're able to get to the 25th floor, and then Felicity goes to hack the Merlin Global mainframe, and Oliver goes to talk to Tommy. Oliver then brings up Laurel, and he's like, Tommy, listen, I still love Laurel, but, you also love Laurel, and Laurel also loves you, so, you can still be with her. And then Tommy's like, what, I'm her consolation prize? I'll pass. Diggle goes over the comms, and he's like, Felicity, Freddy Fazbear is on the way, okay? You've got to get the fuck out of the Merlin Global mainframe right now. Oliver then needs to hurry up and save Felicity before she finds out what the Bite of 87 is, but oh no. Oliver runs in to Malcolm Merlyn. Malcolm insists on accompanying Oliver down to the first floor so he can leave the building. So Oliver can't go to Felicity and help her. Felicity is then left vulnerable to an attack by one of the security guards, and he asks her for some ID, please. We cut to the ground floor, and Oliver is about to head back up to try and save Felicity, but he gets stopped by Thea. Because remember, Thea and Roy are staking out the Merlin Global building because they think the Hood's gonna show up. And Thea tells this to Oliver, and then Oliver goes to Roy, and he's like, Roy Harper, you need to stay away from the Hood, okay? The Hood is dangerous, and I don't want you getting Thea involved in this, because if Thea gets hurt, I'll kill you. What's happening with Felicity? She's cornered by the security guard. She's digging out her ID. It looks like she's about to get made. But then John Diggle comes to the rescue, and he says, "Aw, shit, this one got past me, dude. It's just another one of Merlin Jr.'s bimbos." And then Felicity's like, "No, but I love him." And then, and then they leave. Diggle is honestly the GOAT, for real. Diggle is the best character. Back at the trailer with Roy and Thea, they're having a conversation about the vigilante, and Thea's like, "My brother's right, okay? You really shouldn't be looking into this." And then Roy's like, "I have to find this vigilante, Thea. He saved my life. We have a spiritual connection. I need to find this guy, and I need to thank him, and I need to be just like him. I need to become Robin to this Robin Hood." At the Queen Mansion, Walter serves Moira a steaming, heaping helping of some delicious, delectable divorce papers! Kelton, the cop hacker, tells Lance that somebody called Felicity Smoke was trying to hack into the Merlin Global mainframe, and she didn't cover her tracks very well. Oliver tells Felicity and Diggle that Malcolm Merlyn's undertaking, his whole scheme, that's what he came back from the island to stop. He also says that once they end the undertaking, then Oliver's gonna stop his crusade. He won't have to be the Hood anymore because Malcolm Merlyn will be dealt with. I know I've said that this is the best line, this is the best scene, and this is seriously the best scene in the entire show. Okay, I'm not even joking. So, Oliver goes to see Laurel, and he tells her that whatever this thing is that's been keeping him away from her, it's almost over. He is now ready to be in a relationship with her. And the two of them start kissing, they start making out, and they start, they start heading to the bedroom, okay? The bedroom window is wide open. Just as this is happening, Tommy Merlin is heading to Laurel's house because he's gonna take Oliver's advice and try and apologize to her and make the relationship right again. As he's walking to Laurel's apartment, he looks up and what does he see in the window? And if the scene isn't crazy enough, guess what song is playing in the background? Radioactive! Whoa! Crazy scene, bro. Back on the island, Oliver is still trying to cut his arms free. Yao Fei is being forced to record a message where he takes blame for the entire, shooting down the plane situation. And then once Fires is done filming that, he shoots Yao Fei right in the face and Yao Fei dies. They think the earthquake device is in some kind of warehouse, and so Diggle goes to the warehouse, but the earthquake device is not there. It's been moved, okay? So Oliver is finally like, it's time to hood up and confront Malcolm Merlin directly. So that's what he does. He goes to the nasty-ass glass Merlin Global building, and he gets all up in Malcolm Merlin's little face, and he says, Malcolm Merlin, you have failed this city. Where is the device? And Malcolm's like, your little friend Felicity gave it away. Like, I knew there was a Trojan in my system, and so I moved to the device. And Malcolm says this city needs what's about to happen in order to survive. The people who are destroying it from the inside out need to be erased from the map. Then Oliver's like, fine. Let's start with you. And he shoots an arrow at Malcolm's face. And right before it hits him in the eye, Malcolm grabs the arrow. Ironic, isn't it? Last Christmas, I tried to kill you. A few months ago, you saved my life. Now here you are, trying to kill me again. Make up your mind. And they fight, and Malcolm Merlin kicks Oliver's ass, okay? Oliver cannot compete with this guy. Whatever the hell he learned at Nanda Parbat, it's impressive. So Malcolm Merlin literally kicks Oliver's bow and breaks it in half. Oliver gets knocked out cold, and Malcolm unmasks him, and when he sees Oliver's face, Malcolm just goes, oh no. We got some Felicity lore this episode. She is afraid of heights. For episode 22, Oliver gave 10 dramatic speeches, he gave 5 smart remarks, and 53 dramatic pauses. He didn't kill anyone. Malcolm killed 9 people. I'm radioactive! Radioactive! It's time, everybody. The season finale, episode 23, Sacrifice. We open on Oliver Queen, who is now tied up by Malcolm Merlin. Oliver's in chains, right? So his hands, he's tied up like this, but both of his hands. Like, you get the visual, and he's just kind of hanging there, and then Malcolm Merlin walks in. It's time for Malcolm Merlin to monologue about his evil plan. Oliver says, do you really think that you're honoring Tommy's mother by destroying the Glades? And Malcolm says, as surely as you believe that you're honoring your father with this hood. Not a day goes by that I don't miss your father. You can't beat me, Oliver. You're younger, faster. But you always seem to come up short against me. Want to know why? Because you don't know, in your heart, what you're willing to sacrifice. What you're fighting for. And I do. No one can stop what is about to come. Not even the vigilante. Then we cut to the island. Oliver and friends manage to break free from their chains. Shadow kills Andre, the guy that was on comms, and then it's too late. The missile is launched. Back in Malcolm Merlin's little torture chamber, Oliver manages to escape his chains. Oliver murders 2 of Merlin's guards, and then Diggle shows up just in time to take out the 3rd one. Title screen. Lance brings Felicity in to question her about her involvement with the vigilante. Felicity refuses to give up any information. Just then, Lance gets a call from the vigilante who explains Malcolm Merlin's evil plot to destroy the Glades. Felicity gets let go. Tommy Merlin shows up at the nightclub waiting to talk to Oliver, and he says that he went to go see Laurel, and he was shocked and appalled to find Oliver had gotten there first. Oliver's subject changes real quick and is like, Tommy, I need to tell you about your father and the Undertaking. Dude, your dad, he's planning on leveling the Glades. You have to believe me. Source, trust me, bro. And Tommy's not having it. He's like, okay, listen, first you ruined my relationship with Laurel, and now you're trying to tell me that my father is going to nuke the Glades? You're out of your mind! And Tommy caps this conversation off by saying, I wish you died on that island. Back on the island, Oliver and friends are still trying to fight their way out. Shadow knows how to reprogram the missile launcher for some fucking reason, so she goes to do that, and it comes back down and blows up Fire's camp. Lance tells Lieutenant Frank, hey, Malcolm Merlin's gonna fucking destroy the Glades. Like, we need to evacuate. And Lieutenant Frank is like, what's your source, bro? And Lance is like, the vigilante. And Frank is like, no, I'm suspending you. Oliver goes to confront Moira about the undertaking again. And Moira just then gets a call from Malcolm, who tells her that the undertaking is being moved up. Okay, it's happening tonight, all right? And Moira tells this to Oliver, and then Oliver says that someone in this family needs to do the right thing, no matter the cost. Laurel shows up at Oliver's house to talk to him, and Oliver's like, listen, babe, I can't talk right now, but stay out of the Glades tonight. It's giving, hey, Laurel, don't come to school tomorrow. The conversation that Tommy Merlin and Malcolm Merlin have in the nasty-ass glass Merlin Global building now is insane. Okay, so Tommy goes up and he's like, Oliver told me that you're trying to destroy the Glades, and that's absolutely the craziest thing he's ever said. Malcolm Merlin does not deny it. He stands there like, well, Oliver is really smart, actually, because that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Tommy's like, bro, you can't be serious. That's gonna kill so many people. And Malcolm's like, so the night your mom died, she called me on the phone, and I ignored her because I was busy. I had shit to do. And then she called me again, and I got really mad, and I just turned my entire phone off. And she left a voicemail, and I have it, and I'm gonna play it for you. And he plays Tommy Merlin the voicemail of his mother dying on the street. Tommy Merlin hears his mother's last breath. And then Tommy's like, dude, you still can't kill everyone in the Glades. And Malcolm goes full on apeshit mode. He says, he screams. Okay, so headphone warning. Malcolm starts yelling. He's like, yes! They deserve to die! All of them! The way she died! That hurt my throat. Like, Tommy's freaking out right now. Oliver's back in the Arrow Cave with John and Felicity, and he deduces that this earthquake machine must be in the subway line somewhere, and he thinks he knows exactly where it is. And Thea calls Oliver, and she's like, turn on the news. It's Moira Queen. She's giving a press release to literally every news station in Starling City, and she goes on air and says, my name is Moira Dearden Queen, and I have failed this city. And she tells everyone about the undertaking, and she tells everyone who lives in the Glades to evacuate. Malcolm Merlin's watching this, and he's so pissed off, he screams and flips over a table. And then Thea goes up to Moira, and she's like, Mom, Roy lives in the Glades. I have to go get him. So Thea goes to the Glades. Oh, and also the cops arrest Moira. Moira also outed Malcolm Merlin as the mastermind. So there's a SWAT team headed up to get Malcolm right now. Tommy's freaking out. He's like, Dad, I cannot believe you're evil. Malcolm shows Tommy his other Archer costume. The SWAT team shows up. Malcolm kills everyone in the SWAT team, and then Tommy pulls a gun on Malcolm, but Malcolm just laughs, punches him in the face, and then goes and hides somewhere. Oliver's talking with John, and he's like, I need to fight Malcolm Merlin alone. And John's like, you can't do that. Like, he beat you before. He beat you every single time you tried to fight him. Like, I need to be there with you, buddy. And then Felicity's like, I'm gonna go to the Glades and disarm the bomb. But Oliver's like, absolutely the fuck not, Felicity. You are staying right here. So he calls Detective Lance. And then as the vigilante, Oliver asks Lance to go into the Glades subway systems and disarm the earthquake machine. And Lance agrees to this because what does he have to lose at this point? The Glades are in absolute pandemonium. Roy is running around. Everyone's trying to leave. On the island, Oliver runs into the wreckage of Fire's camp. He's looking for Slade and Shadow. Shadow is being held at gunpoint by Fires. So Oliver picks up Yao Fei's bow, which is conveniently there, and he shoots Fires. Oliver and Diggle go to the nasty-ass glass Merlin Global building, and they find Tommy on the floor, and Oliver's like, Tommy, are you okay? And Tommy asks Oliver, are you gonna kill him? And then Oliver's like, get to safety. And then they see that the safe room in the office is open, so Oliver and Diggle go in there, and Malcolm Merlin, dressed as the other Archer, is standing in the safe room waiting for them. They fight. Malcolm throws a knife at Diggle, and it hits him in the chest. Malcolm runs to the rooftop. Oliver runs after him. Diggle starts crawling his way after as well. When they're on the roof, Malcolm asks Oliver, so tell me, are you ready to die? Lance finds the earthquake machine. This thing looks crazy. There's a timer. They have 7 minutes to disarm the earthquake machine, so they better get started. Roy and Thea get reunited. Felicity is talking to Lance, and she tells him to cut a wire on the earthquake machine. He cuts the wire. Uh-oh, the timer goes down. Now they only have 2 minutes. Lance calls Laurel and is like, hey, Laurel, I know you're still at fucking CNRI because I told you not to go there, so of course you went there. So, like, Laurel, please just get out. I'm gonna die. I love you. And she's like, on the way out of the glades, there's a bus that got, like, stuck somewhere, and there's a bunch of people trapped in it. So Roy goes to try and play hero and save the people on the bus. Back on the roof, Malcolm and Oliver, they're having an epic battle. They're archering it out. They're hand-to-handing each other. And then Malcolm gets Oliver in a chokehold. Diggle has managed to get all the way up to the top of the steps, but there's no way he can get the shot on Malcolm. Like, he's got a low vantage point. He's also got a shaky hand. Oliver takes an arrow that was lying on the ground. He grabs it, and he plunges it through his own shoulder, and then it subsequently hits Malcolm Merlyn in the chest, and he dies. Lance is able to disarm the earthquake device, but before Malcolm takes his last breath, he tells Oliver that, haha, psych, there's actually two. There's actually another earthquake device. Did you really think I was only gonna have one earthquake device? Nope. So then the glades start shaking and the earthquake device goes off. Lance runs for his life. Oliver and Diggle watch from the rooftop of the nasty-ass glass Merlin Global building as everyone in the glades fucking dies. Laurel is trapped inside CNRI. She's running out. Joanna is also there, by the way. Don't know why she came back. I don't know, whatever. Laurel and Joanna try to run out of the building, but Laurel gets hit by like a falling piece of debris and she gets trapped and she starts calling for help. Oliver is of course on his way because he knows Laurel's there, but you know who else is on the way? Tommy Merlyn! Oh no! Tommy Merlyn shows up at CNRI. He hulks the fuck out and lifts the entire beam that fell on Laurel. He lifts it up off her. She manages to escape. He tells her to run out of the building. She runs out of the building. He also tries to run out of the building, but then something falls on his head and he gets trapped in the rubble. Oliver Queen shows up, dressed as the Hood. He finds Tommy in the building and he tries to get him out, but Tommy, he didn't just get trapped under the shrapnel. He's got impaled. Tommy Merlyn is impaled by a beam. He's not surviving this. So Tommy's like, Oliver, is Laurel out? And Oliver's like, yeah, Laurel got out. You saved her. And then Tommy asks Oliver if he killed Malcolm. And Oliver says, no. Even though it looked like he killed Malcolm Merlyn to me. So the last thing he did to Tommy Merlyn was lie to him. And Tommy dies inside of this burning building, and Oliver starts crying that it should have been him, and I absolutely agree. This episode ends with Oliver sobbing over Tommy's corpse saying that it should have been him, and then the season is over. In the final episode of season 1, Oliver Queen gave 8 dramatic speeches, 4 smart remarks, and 62 dramatic pauses. He also killed 4 people. That concludes Arrow Season 1. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you watched all of the parts and made it to the end, thank you so much. You should probably subscribe, you know, because you invested all this time, so why not? I am planning on doing more of these deep dive videos. I've already started working on Season 2 of Arrow, and then I might do The Flash too, so it's probably going to take a month or so before I get the next one out because this was a lot of work. I don't know if you guys know how much work goes into this, but I had to go watch Arrow again, obviously, and I would watch a scene, I would keep track of the pauses and shit, and then I would pause and write down everything that I saw, and then I'd go again, keep track of all the pauses, pause the episode, write down what happened, every single scene, and then I obviously had to go back and revise that script, and then I had to print out all these pictures, and I had to get the string, and it was a lot of work, okay, it was a lot of work, so please subscribe. I don't know what to do with myself. Every morning for the past week or so, I've been getting up and putting on makeup and standing in front of this camera, and then making these videos, and I don't know what to do with myself now that that's over. My life has no purpose. I had a lot of fun making this video. Oh, the eulogies. R.I.P. Robert Queen. He would have loved Bitcoin. R.I.P. Frank number 3. He would have loved the Timothée Chalamet Willy Wonka movie. R.I.P. Rebecca Merlyn. She would have loved The Undertaking. R.I.P. Andrew Diggle. He would have loved the relationship between Carly and John. R.I.P. Yao Fei. He would have loved Panda Express. R.I.P. Billy Wintergreen. He would have loved changing his name to literally anything else. R.I.P. General Edward Fires. He would have loved Donald Trump's America. And R.I.P. Thomas Merlyn. He would have loved alpha male podcasters. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.